I got to tell you, I left hopeful. And the reason why is I've been telling people for the last 10 years, Republicans, go to the black community, go to the Hispanic community. You may be surprised. They're culturally conservative. They want change in their community. They're not lazy. They want better for their children. Just go talk to them. And Donald Trump is the first presidential candidate, former president, to go there in 50 plus years. I had the opportunity to talk with him. This is what he had to say.
Why do they like you better than any other Republican in modern time?
Well, you have to ask the other Republicans.
I mean, I'm just saying, you see black support going up with you, Hispanic, young people. Like I said, the people look more like me than you, and they say you're different. Why?
Because I did things in office that nobody else has done. Criminal justice reform. I did criminal justice reform at a level that nobody thought was possible to get. And I did that largely for the black and Hispanic community. They're the ones that wanted it. Opportunity zones with Tim Scott. And he was so much in favor of it. And it's probably maybe the best economic development package ever for African Americans, for Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans. We did a lot of things that people couldn't believe we were able to get done.
Nikki Haley said today that she's going to vote for you. It looks like the Republican Party is coming together.
Yeah, I think it is coming together. I think it's come together for a long time. You have to understand, we did the nomination process the fastest in history. You know, if somebody else were running, they'd still be running for another month in order to get the nomination. We did it 2 months ago. But the party is together. I appreciate what she said. The party is together, and I think we're going to have a tremendous
We
victory.
saw it early in the diners. I would go to the diners, and they said they wanted Trump because of the Trump economy, the border being secured. Is this going to be a record election? You say that there has to be undisputed win in this time.
Well, I won't forget you at the diner, because when somebody else would blurt out, well, Nikki's doing well, Laurent's doing well, or somebody else, and you'd say, that's not what I'm seeing out here, and then you'd go and it was all Trump.
Quickly, I'll say this before I turn it over to you guys. The original speech was supposed to be about 45 minutes. He ended up being like 2 hours long.
I know, it was,
because he was genuinely enjoying the moment with those folks in the Bronx.
Yeah, and he covered a lot. He started the speech by talking about all that he's done for the community in the Bronx. He's a New Yorker, which I think is important because, yeah, he's famous. He's a former president. Before that, he was a billionaire and, you know, New York City icon. But he went there not as any of those things. He went there as a New Yorker, and I like that he showed his New York pride. And then he ended his speech in a non-political way, although he injected some politics into it, although he said he wasn't going to be political, with just advice for young people. And it was a ride, the ups and downs, and he covered all of the issues. And I would be interested to see not just about race of the crowd or how many people are there, but how many Democrats are in that crowd as well. How many disaffected Democrats are there whose mind he might have changed with that speech.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
John Garland is a lifelong Bronx resident and former Democrat. And he joins me now. John Garland, what was it like out there today?
Oh, it was exciting. It was, the entire atmosphere was electrifying. There were people from all over the Bronx, black, white, Hispanic. There was Asians, there was Jews, there were it was just a smorgasbord of basically patriots.
And why was everybody there today? Was it they're sick of Joe Biden, they love Trump, the economy? How would you describe it?
I would describe it as people came out here to show that they were fed up. They're fed up with systemic racism. They're fed up with being systemically excluded. And it's not just minorities. It's about the American people, you know? And we make up a whole, you know, like we're a whole spectrum of different people, you know?
Was there something that Donald Trump said tonight that really hit home for everybody and you?
Well, there wasn't anything that was in particular that moved me. The whole thing as a whole, it was the sum of its parts. So we had, there were people who were expressing themselves in a way like we're fed up. People from the Bronx is fed up. People from New York is fed up, and we want something different. We want change, and Donald Trump has promised to bring change, and he's proven that he can do that. You know, this isn't somebody who's just stepping into the political arena as he was in 2016. Like, now he's experienced. He's went through what he's had to go through. The man's skin is thick as steel, you know? So we're here for him because he's here for us.
So you're saying you're looking for hope and change. And Donald Trump's that guy.
Yes.
Hope and change.
Yeah, yes.
All right. Mr. Garland, thanks so much for joining Jesse Waters Primetime. Sounds like there's still a party going on in the background. Go enjoy yourself, all right?
Oh, yeah. There's still people that's still coming in. There's people nobody's really leaving. People are just congregating and sharing ideas, and everybody was glad to be here. It was a great event.
Well, sounds like a beautiful thing. Go have a nice early Memorial Day weekend and stay out of trouble. Or maybe make some trouble for me, because I can't be there.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.
An American who pleaded guilty to carrying ammunition in Turks and Caicos will not face prison time. A judge found there were exceptional circumstances to avoid the 12-year mandatory minimum sentence for Brian Hegridge. His prison sentence of 52 weeks was suspended. He'll have to pay a $6,700 fine. Hegridge was charged after hunting ammo was found in his checked luggage in February. He's one of 5 Americans charged with carrying ammunition in their luggage. All of them say they didn't realize they had bullets with them. Possessing a gun or ammunition is illegal in the British territory. Let's bring in CBS News national correspondent Manuel Bojorquez. So, Manuel, walk us through what happened in the courtroom today.
Yeah, this went down just about an hour ago that the judge decided to hand down that sentence of 12 months suspended and that $6,700 fine. But there was a lot of concern going into the hearing today that there was no guarantee that would happen, that those 5 Americans may actually have been sentenced to up to 12 years in prison, which is a mandatory sentence for anyone possessing ammunition or firearms on the islands of Turks and Caicos. So that was the big concern going into this. He very well could soon be on his way home. The question now is those 4 other Americans who say they were found with stray bullets in their bags and that was an accident, whether they will say go through essentially the same type of sentencing here. That is what many of them were hoping, even though it's a pretty steep fine. They were hoping to avoid jail time, and that seems to be what will happen, at least for Brian Hegridge at this point.
Yeah, so given what we know about the circumstances involving the others, I mean, do we have a sense that what happened here in this case, this suspended sentence, maybe could be what happens with the other Americans charged?
You know, a lot of people will wonder that, and that may be because this will set some sort of precedent for the others that indeed that is what happens. But again, there's no guarantee. There have been a lot of talking back and forth between the United States and Turks and Caicos, and they essentially said, look, we have to let our legal process play out, and the judge does have discretion. That's what happened, at least in this one case.
Yeah, you can imagine, though, those other Americans maybe breathing a sigh of relief today just seeing what happened in this first case. You know, you mentioned Turks and Caicos officials saying, let's let our own judicial system play out. We know an American congressional delegation visited Turks and Caicos this week. How were they received? Do you think it helped or hurt the situation?
Well, we came away from that with two different stories. The congressional delegation, when they arrived back in the United States, they said they felt like they'd made some headway with the officials there on the island, that they would not be seeking to get a 12-year sentence for what is essentially an accident, according to these tourists. But again, the island officials said, look, we're going to let things play out. There was no agreement that was laid out by these congressional delegation that came to visit here. So really two stories there. But interestingly enough, because Turks and Caicos depends so much on tourism, you can imagine that that may have factored into the decision, because there was already one call from a representative in the House to force the State Department or urge the State Department to issue a do not travel advisory to Turks and Caicos, given what has happened to these 5 Americans.
No, the island would not want that. All right, Manuel Bojorquez, thank you.
More Americans are now smoking cannabis on the regular compared to drinking booze daily or nearly every day. That's what a study in the US has found. So how many more people are choosing marijuana regularly compared to drinking booze? In 2022, the National Survey on Drug Use and Health recorded an estimated 17.7 million daily cannabis users, compared with an estimated 14.7 million daily drinkers. Now, to be clear, Americans are still more likely to enjoy a drink compared to smoking cannabis, but this was the first time the survey recorded that there are more frequent users of cannabis than alcohol. Dr. Brooke Worcester, the Chief Medical Officer at EOK, points out that this doesn't necessarily mean more Americans are smoking weed compared to back in the day. She said people are less afraid to admit they're using it now, and that the industry for legal cannabis products had exploded in the past 2 decades. Recreational use of cannabis is allowed in 24 states and the District of Columbia, while 38 states have legalized its medical use. And despite misconceptions of cannabis as a gateway to other drugs, Dr. Worcester noted that the majority of users do not progress to harder drugs, but that younger adults and those who use high-potency products are at risk of contracting cannabis use disorder.